and welcome to Drilling Insight. I'm Jeremy Verduzco, your host and editor of the Driller magazine. I'm joined today by co-host and the Driller writer, Brock Yorty. How are you doing this morning, Brock?
I am doing great. I'm excited. We're just, a week away from being at the National Groundwater Show. And, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've all been in the same room and been able to have that camaraderie and share lessons learned and laugh and, decompress after a year.
Yeah. And, we wanted to have this special episode just to kind of talk a little bit about what we're excited about for Groundwater Week. And as Brock said, we haven't had an in-person Groundwater Week since 2019. So I'm really excited to have some of these in-person experiences. Now, I know we all went to the virtual one they had last year, and I commend them for putting in all that effort. But, as we saw at the Jubilee this summer, there's just that kind of in-person spark that you get when you can see and talk with clients, talk with readers, talk with new people out there. So what are your thoughts on that, Brian?
Absolutely. Grabbing somebody's hand and shaking it, and that connection of we are a very influential industry that, without making resources come out of the ground, making water come out of the ground, civilization doesn't progress. And we all kind of share that camaraderie and brother and sisterhood. So it's when we're in the same place and we know that we got to help supply water, bring natural resources out of the ground. It's neat.
Yeah. Well, and that is certainly what it's all about. So I wanted to go through the schedule a little bit and talk about some of the things that we're personally excited for. I mean, this event has everything from the trainings and things like that folks expect, networking, the trade show. But I wanted to go through some of the classes in particular. And Brock, you're kind of starting out the week with a training. And this is kind of a new thing that NGWA is trying, is that they've paired up with IGSHPA to have some geothermal component in the trade show, but there's also some in the training as well. Now, is that new? Am I right on that?
It is new. And yeah, the people at IGSHPA reached out and said, hey, would you be willing to talk about the collaboration between drillers and contractors and HVAC or engineers? And they came up with a title and a topic, and I said, I can completely talk about that. And we're going to talk about how drilling companies can transition successfully into geothermal and how they can work better with, HVAC contractors and engineers.
Now, talk a little bit about why drillers might want to diversify in that way. I mean, is geothermal growing? Is it, are tax incentives back? What's the state of geothermal right now?
I don't know about any new tax incentives. With the infrastructure bill, obviously, we see a lot of drilling that's valuable, and many state and federal buildings have gone geothermal. Lots of universities across the country have gone geothermal. With our weather, the way it keeps changing on us, it makes sense to utilize the constant heat of the ground instead of trying to pull from an erratic, air temperature from outside to heat a home or cool a home. But, a good drilling company that has been successful in water well makes 100% to, if you have the opportunity and you can tool up appropriately, because, we are drilling a smaller diameter hole, 6-inch. We're going deeper, so deeper in the Midwest than the typical 1 to 200 foot well. But, we're drilling 400 foot holes. There's multiple on a property. And we're setting a loop, and then we're collaborating with the HVAC contractor, and sometimes on big projects, the engineer, and drilling. Again, drillers are the experts to their area. They have seen and learned those nuances and that spidey sense that hits the back of your neck that says, you know what, we're about to get into some bad cobble, or I need to pick up off bottom and circulate a little bit before I get into this next zone. And that's why local contractors that collaborate with very successful drillers can have, great experiences. And then we expand geothermal, because that's the problem, is we've had projects that start out strong, and then we have different drilling contractors come in, and it changes the tone. And there are great companies that can drill throughout the country. And then there are companies that are best suited for their part of the Southeast or Texas or, Northwest. And to step into an area and drill rock when you've been drilling sand and gravel drift takes a little bit tooling up. And so being able to find that good drilling company that's local and didn't have to mobilize that $900,000 rig hours and hours and hours away, that's how we get better utilization.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly glad to see IGSHPA making a bigger footprint. I think there's room for growth for an organization like that in this space. So I was glad to see the partnership with NGWA. Now, moving on, I see that I guess friend of the pod here, Jeff Williams, is speaking on Tuesday morning as well. Now, I don't know specifically what he's talking about. It talks about, the title talks about a new perspective on the kind of CDL driver shortage. So I'm always curious to hear what Jeff has to say.
And Jeff's up in the Northeast in Burlington, Vermont, Spafford Well Drilling, past president of the NGWA, always an amazing knowledge sharer. And we do have a CDL shortage. We have a big shortage in technical people. He was the one that said, where did all the farm kids go? That's where we used to, and you needed a CDL to be able to move that heavy equipment and whatnot. Jeff is a forward thinker that also will call me from the back of a rig and say, hey, I'm drilling through some rock right now, and what do you think about this? And so it's awesome when he has an idea, if it's about how to maximize utilization or profitability to a company, or make your workforce more comfortable. He had great insight into how we would operate during COVID, and he came up with this with Henrik in March of 2020 and shared that. So I am excited to see what his ideas are on how we utilize, less CDL drivers, because let's face it, all the equipment we need to move down the road, we need one CDL per person to get stuff, or it's multiple mobs, and that makes things hard.
Well, and we do appreciate Jeff, and he was even on, I guess, the earliest incarnation of what became Drilling Insight, way back in April of 2020. We had him on talking about COVID and these COVID protocols. So we're always interested in his perspective on the industry. So, and then our very own columnist Dave Bowers is speaking at the show as well. He's talking on Tuesday at 4 p.m. and he's going to be offering his ideas on fall protection. And he's written about that for the driller as well early this year. So are you going to catch that talk, or do you know everything about fall protection and you're just good?
You know what? Dave is always fun to get to catch him in a talk. And when it's a big room with lots of questions, he's always got great insight. I love to sit right in the front row and throw things at him. And, when he slips up on a word, be the first one to start laughing. No, but it's in Jess. He's one of my favorite people in the industry. And fall protection for OSHA, fall protection um, is, fall injury, slips, trips, and falls from heights is the greatest injury rate and fatality rate that we have in general industry and construction. And we have, as an industry, getting to work for Lave, getting to work for Jeffco, we can think back 15 years ago, heck, 10 years ago, we still had some rigs that had somewhat a ladder, maybe not designated a ladder, maybe it was a hose guide or whatnot, but we had something on the side of the rig to be able to climb the mast because we have to climb the mast. And fall protection in that same amount of time, even in the last 5 years with dual-legged yo-yos and self-retracting lifelines and SRLs, those type of things have really made it so that we can save lives. And we shouldn't be climbing a mast without, an SRL or, being able to tie off and the proper fall protection. And furthermore, I know a lot of these rigs, we get a rig and it comes with, one fall protection harness, or somehow I always see one harness on a rig. And, Dave's going to get into talking about that is personal safety equipment that an employer has to supply for their employees, which means one size does not fit all. And this is one of those things, especially for manhood, you don't want to fall in a smaller harness or, or a harness doesn't fit. So we should all pay attention to fall protection. It's one of OSHA's focus fours, and it should be a good talk. And we can all do fall protection and then go to the kickoff event.
Yeah, the cocktail welcome party. I don't know who the sponsor is this year, but I know it's always pretty well attended, and I'm looking forward to mixing up with people, getting a few drinks to welcome and celebrate and toast, toast everything that's happened since last time we were able to toast.
I agree. It's always a great time. And I was quickly looking to see who our welcome party, and it's not on the agenda. In the past, our friends at Franklin have been one of the hosts of it, and I've seen Jeffco, I've seen many different sponsors come through and throw quite an event, and it's great because it's like a high school reunion, right? Like we all get into town. We've gotten checked into our hotel rooms. The great thing about Nashville is it isn't that crazy thing that's Vegas, right? There's not all those other distractions. It's just, great music and nightlife. And we have this party and we all come together and we laugh and we toast and we can talk about 2 years worth of stuff instead of just 1 year. So I'm really excited for the party and to see a lot of old friends that I've only seen on Zoom for 2 years.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to catching up. And then, of course, on the Wednesday is the main event. Well, the main event for us anyway. And I know there's the speeches and things like that, but I'm really there for the trade show. I just love walking the trade show floor. So definitely looking forward to that. You see all the rigs in person, the pump hoists and all of that. So what's your favorite part of the trade show? I mean, what have you missed? I mean, we went to Jubilee. Jubilee has its own special place, but NGWA is kind of an order of magnitude larger. So what are you looking forward to?
Walking the trade show floor and seeing the new equipment that's been sold, seeing who's growing in the industry, it looks like we've had more rigs sold this year than we have in the last, 5-8 years. So all the rig manufacturers have been gangbusters. We've had some changes in the industry where, We have Jeffco is now owned by Bauer, and I'm excited to see the little pieces and you know innovations that Bauer has brought to Jeffco, being a rig manufacturer themselves into the construction industry. I'm also excited to see what Jeffco has influenced Bauer on. I I'd like to see what Epirock's got. Eagle Camp's coming with two new rigs or one new truck mounted rig, which should be PTO driven. That's going to be exciting. Of course, you got Versa Drill that always looks like a sports car. Like, we got the workhorse of the industry, those west of the Mississippi rigs with the lattice masts and whatnot. And then you look at that Mark 70 or V140, and it's got that bright red paint job, and it looks like a Ferrari or something. So I'm excited to see their attention to detail and how they tighten up those rigs. Geoprobe, their sonic machine and the rigs they have. I'm excited to see what they have been able to do with this last 2 years, and they've been busy. The same with Mobile Drill, and now I don't want to leave all of them out, but I am going to make it by as many rigs as possible with Acker and Rich Drill, and yeah, that's CME. And then the solids control units. Those are always fun to see what those guys are up to. And our suppliers, what tooling's going on. That's cool. There's always so many great toys and, lessons learned after being in the field for a year or 2 years going, you guys build one of those. We didn't have to build it in the back of the shop. Those are the things I was thinking about. Geoprobe and DrillMax are together and owned by the same big company, and I'm excited to see what DrillMax and Geoprobe is collaborations. And then they got the guys from Patriot also now, which has some SRAM influence. There's a lot of cool things happening this year with the collaboration of our industry, with the sharing of knowledge of lessons learned from the days of cyclone rigs in Bucyrus Erie to, the Ingersoll Rand days to Atlas Copco, to what the evolutions from there, which created the way for the Versa drills and, SRAM being in there. And obviously Jeffco and Speedstar are some of the oldest. There's a lot of rigs out there to take a look at and see what's going on.
Yeah. And you had talked about Rich Drill, and we're not far from where their booth is going to be. So if folks look for them or look for that Terrasonic, you talk about a distinct color, those Terrasonics, you're not going to miss those. So if you're looking for the Drillers booth, we're at 1428. So we're not far from the IGPA Pavilion, where I think we're in pretty good spot. So I think we'll, looking forward to seeing what kind of traffic we get there. We always get pretty good traffic at Groundwater Week, though. So
yeah, and that Wednesday in the evening, we should have lots of traffic, lots of great questions. We got our drinks for Dean, and that should be a really great time and camaraderie as well.
Now, for those who don't know, Dean was a longtime sales manager here at the Driller. He represented this brand in the industry for about 20 years. So he passed away in 2020. And while we've been giving away beer at our booth for a long time, every year at Groundwater Week, this year we decided to rename that giveaway in Dean's honor. So you can come by the booth at 3 p.m. on the Wednesday of Groundwater Week. Raise a glass for Dean, tell us your Dean stories, celebrate the man. I know we certainly will be.
Yeah, and his influence throughout our industry with marketing And, from the days of him being part of the National Drillers Buyer's Guide to what the driller is today, Dean is one of them that said, the driller is, the name, the evolution. And just, we had such a great time in 2019 with Dean. And then, August of 2020, in the middle of this crazy stuff, we lost him, and we didn't get to come together and really, share. We had a nice little toast for him at the Jubilee, but come by, share a story. I'm sure if you can't think of who Dean is right now, when you see his picture, he hosted the golf outing forever for the Jubilee, but he is the face of what marketing had been for the last 30 years for the industrial drilling industry. And he influenced us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one thing I didn't want to skip is earlier on the Wednesday, that morning at 10:15 is the 2020 Darcy lecture with Reed Maxwell. And, we've had Reed on Drilling Insight talking about this particular lecture, talking about modeling and issues related to that. So I'd recommend people check it out. He's definitely a go-to expert for modeling.
I would go back and listen to that podcast with Reed Maxwell. His insight, his years in the industry, the people he's collaborated with, and really the questions he asked back to the industry on how the drillers, drilling companies, how we can, from a regional standpoint and a national standpoint, can help with this modeling. And the better the modeling is, the better the industry we are. And so it's awesome to have Reed coming and talking.
So, and then, skipping ahead to Thursday, of course, we'll have more of the trade show that everyone loves on Thursday. But I hear, Brock, you're giving a second class that morning. Do people really need that much, Brock? Or are you responding to demand? How's that work?
You know what? This talk I am insanely passionate about. And I think it shows in some of the writing I've done over the last 2 years on leadership and the future of our industry. By 2030, there's going to be 30 million people in Florida. And, we have no idea how many will be in Texas. And, our population in the US will be really influencing the infrastructure of our water, from water wells to municipalities. And then we jump to 2050, and the global water crisis is going to be a big deal at 8 billion people. And so we have an age gap. I'm 41 and I keep getting called a kid, and I don't want to be called a kid anymore. So we need to get some more youth. We need to inspire the next generation. And so I'm going to be doing a talk on recruiting, hiring, training, retaining the next generation of drillers, that 21st century driller. And I'm going to talk about, multi-generational workforces and our age gap and our approach to how we recruited in the past and how we do it now. And really, I'm going to get into how do we onboard them, train them, and inspire them to want to do more, have purpose, because there's nothing more spiritual than making water come out of the ground. And we need a next generation, and Gen Z is primed to do it. And so this is a talk that I've been working on. I've introduced it a few times over the years, and it has continued to evolve. It was a 2020 focus, and we had to hit pause. And now we've had the Great Resignation, and we have a hard time finding CDL drivers, and our work is hard. It's in extreme conditions. The hours are erratic, And how do we inspire Gen Z to be more involved with us? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it's an open discussion. I have a PowerPoint ready to go, but just like as I was refining it at the Jubilee, if there's something that we can all talk about, I want to pause right there and have that community discussion. So I'm very excited and gracious that the NGWA went, yeah, we'll let you just go right off the beaten path and have a discussion that's a difficult conversation to have sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and it's an important topic. Where are we going to get people to do this work? Because I mean, we can't supply the population we have in this world with surface water. We just can't do it. So,
and what's crazy is with the infrastructure bill in the place it is right now, we have just as many geotechnical companies and cathodic companies and geothermal companies and environmental investigation companies with PFAS and just phase one investigations we have to do as we build more roads and we change brownfield redevelopments. That water well industry, if we don't have our ducks in a row, those men and women that were inspired to be part of drilling because it's exciting and we're discovering the unknown will just as quickly be running that Terrasonic that Jeremy mentioned earlier over maybe that 30K that they could have been on, because it's still discovering the unknown. But you know what, water for me is life, just like for all of us, right? And we got to do some good recruiting and onboarding and inspiring.
Yeah. And so that kind of gives me an idea for a question. And then after that, unless you have anything else, we can wrap up. But I've noticed, I mean, I've been leading the driller for now 9+ years. I've noticed in that time that when I've gone to shows like National, like Groundwater Week, like Jubilee, you see more and more of the geotech represented. It's not just water well folks. It's kind of a broader spectrum of the industry. What have your perceptions been of that?
I think you're absolutely right. Many geotechnical and environmental companies have licensed water well drillers that work for them. They're working in the same expectations that we are in the water well drilling industry. We saw it at the Jubilee. I saw a lot of good men and women that were coming in, getting their CEUs. This conference is as much about the camaraderie and seeing all the shiny new toys as it is about the education. And the crazy thing is as we look across the country at water well drilling companies, lots of family-owned businesses and, one rig up to maybe 3 or 4 rigs. And you look at a geotechnical company that could have 10 or 12 rigs. You look at what a geoprobe could have sold in 2021, and I'm not exactly sure, but I know, they sold many pieces of equipment, the same as Mobile Drill and Acker and CME and all of those great companies. They're a lower price point than, say, a $900,000 or $1 million rig. They're utilized on many different projects, again, from the road bills to investigating PFAS. There's a lot of drillers. I truly would have to believe this is the National Groundwater Conference, but from a drilling standpoint, when you look at the ADSC or the National Drilling Association, there's a lot of drilling going on that goes through aquifers. So we have to be smart. We have to understand how to protect and maintain the water we have. But we have a lot of drillers out there running rigs that are, only going less than 100 feet. And so I think every time we're there, we see more and more, environmental, geotechnical. Also, it's slower paced. We're investigating something. We need to retrieve results. When we get good at water wells, we show up, we start turning to the right. We're looking for that confining layer. We push through it. we make an open rock hole or we screen it and we have water coming out of the ground, and so it's, I think both trades require a different set of mindset. If it's the investigation and detective, or if it's, my investigation starts when I punch through that confining layer and find water. But I do believe there's probably much more geotechnical rigs sold in a year than there is water well rigs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, whichever sector you work in, chances are you're going to find something of interest at Groundwater Week. It's a great event. I look forward to going every year. In particular, no slight on Vegas, but in particular, I look forward to the Nashville ones. It's just something a little different and something to look forward to every 3 or 4 years that they're in Nashville. But with that, I think we'll wrap up this episode. Do thank you for your time and your insight, Brock, and looking forward to seeing you in Nashville. So it's a couple weeks now, right?
It is, and one last exciting thing, the Driller brought on Chelsea Yordy as their national sales manager. And so I used to be able to run around NGWA and the night events and, be wild and free. And now my wife is part of the industry, and she will be out there meeting you guys, and you guys can see I married way over my head. But it's going to be fun to bring the Yorty family to this event, as I used to with my, go to this event with my dad. And I'm excited about introducing Chelsea to all of you great people out there too.
Yep. And you'll be able to meet Chelsea, Brock, myself, our publisher, Sarah Harding, and everyone, just come to booth 1428. And, we'll be there. We love to meet readers. We love to meet folks in the audience. We love to meet folks in the industry and make those connections. But as always, you can catch fresh episodes of our videos and our podcast on our website at thedriller.com. You can also find the latest news and views of the industry there. And you can also find our podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So until next time, this is Drilling Insight.